Gani Oranang, hello, this is East Kimberley Weekly with Davina Toby Wright. Coming up in this edition, methamphetamine use on the rise in the East Kimberley. Bushfire season has arrived with a vengeance, but most appear to be deliberately lit. Bringing you a special bushfire report.
And I'm still celebrating. Go the Crows! I am here shortly to bring you all the highlights of this weekend's EKFL's Grand Finals.
But first, as we mentioned last week, the Shire of Wyndham East Kimberley, in partnership with Kununurra and Wyndham Alcohol Accord, is seeking community feedback on a proposal to allow the sale of 2-litre wine casks in local bottle shops. Speaking to Waringarri media last week, Shire President David Menzel says it will reduce the amount of broken glass and injuries. Mr. Menzel expressed disappointment that Aboriginal community control organisations such as MG Corporation, Wonan and Waringarri Aboriginal Corporation have provided little input.
Yes, that's what I've heard from, and I don't sit on the Alcohol Accord, but that's what I've heard from my council colleagues about it as well, which is a little bit sad, yeah. But again, I think it's, to be totally honest, it impacts on our Aboriginal community more than anyone else.
Waringarri media has attempted to obtain MG Corp's position on the 2-litre wine proposal, but after numerous requests, have not received a response. Wonan Foundation CEO Prue Jenkins replied,
"Unfortunately, we are unavailable for an interview, but Wonan supports any initiative that is likely to lead to a reduction in alcohol-fuelled violence."
When Waringarri media asked,
"But does Wonan believe this proposal to reintroduce 2-litre wine casks is likely to lead to a reduction in alcohol-fuelled violence? Does Wonan support the proposal or not? And has Wonan put this position to the Wyndham and Kununurra Alcohol Accord?"
we received no response. Kununurra Waringarri Aboriginal Corporation have been more forthcoming, providing us with the organisation's formal statement, submitted to the WA Office of Alcohol and Other Drugs late last year. It reads,
"On the 8th of October 2024, a Waringarri representative provided advice on the 2-litre cask application based on operational knowledge managing the organisation's sober and shelter service. Overall, they advised of the positives of reducing glass injuries from bottles, but indicated that the large quantity of alcohol available in a cask would be a great concern for our community and goes against what the restrictions are there for. When asked if bringing back casks is likely to reduce glass injuries, given glass wine bottles would still be available, they advised, yes, it definitely would, both from direct attacks and from children, adults and dogs stepping into broken glass all around town. However, in response to a question as to whether or not alcohol harms might get worse from casks being available again, even if glass injuries were reduced, they noted, yes, it definitely would. Cheap and readily available cask wine would be a great concern for the town." Concerns regarding impacts on other communities outside of Kununurra were also expressed, noting harms would likely increase given the black market trade and illegal alcohol running would rise in communities and towns where the cask wine isn't currently sold or allowed.
Waringarri media also approached the Ord Valley Aboriginal Health Service, or OVAS, for its perspective. CEO Mary Baird says that OVAS supports the idea and believes it will reduce the harm her service is seeing from broken glass.
I think that it's, I'm in support of the 2-litre wine cask. We understand that today that you can purchase up to 3 litres in glass bottles of wine today. What we see in our clinic is, a number of injuries where from children to adults that are coming in with, their feet being infected from standing on a glass bottle or broken glass in community, and they're coming in and it's been 6 days since they've cut themselves, and our major concern around that is the secondary infection where it takes longer to heal, but then that also leads to hospitalisation for a few days and antibiotics. So, our main concern is the health and well-being for our children.
Miss Baird says it's impossible to control the consumption that any one person is consuming of alcohol, which is the best dealt with through education, but we can control the amount of glass being sold. The OVA CEO agrees that it will lead to increased alcohol running and says this can be countered by encouraging people to report those doing it. Miss Baird says other drugs like meth are becoming an even bigger problem in our community.
It's huge. We see that meth is filtering into our community. It's becoming more and more evident in community, where it's actually cheaper to buy, I think it's $100 bag of ice than it is to buy a $150 carton of alcohol on the black market. So I do see a lot of our community that's reverting to meth rather than consuming alcohol.
Speaking on Waringarri Media's Brekkie show this week, Acting Senior Sergeant Todd Roberts confirmed that ICE is on the rise in our region and there are a number of police investigations underway.
Look, Scott, I'd say that's probably a trend statewide. And I'd hazard a guess at Australia-wide. It is creeping into every community in WA. And without going into too much detail on what we're doing investigatively, I will say that we're treating drugs in this community very seriously.
Yeah.
And a lot of it relies on the assistance of the public. We don't want drugs on the streets.
Well, spring is officially here, but so is the bushfire season, with authorities already working overtime to control more than 25 fires across the Kimberley. As we go to air, Evan Ransley brings us this Special Bushfire Report.
Here in the East Kimberley, hundreds and thousands of hectares of country has gone up in smoke over the past few weeks. This has threatened tourist locations on and around the Gibb River Road like El Questro, along Lake Argyle Road and Parry Creek Farm, which has now closed for good. Clouds of thick black smoke from fires have also been surrounding the town of Kununurra for several days over the past week. The Department of Fire and Emergency Service, or DFES, is already working around the clock. This comes as the Weather Bureau predicts a hotter spring season ahead.
Having a look at the next 3 months as we start to make our way into the spring season, likely to see warmer than average temperatures for the northern Kimberley, both in terms of our maximum and minimum temperatures, likely to be warmer than normal.
AFAC, or the Australian and New Zealand National Council for Fire and Emergency Service, has just released the seasonal bushfire outlook for spring 2025. It shows a heightened risk of fire for most of the East Kimberley. Kimberley Central District Officer Benjamin Muller is warning everyone to prepare for the hotter temperatures and more fires.
At the moment, we're forecast for increased fire conditions, it'd be above average. Some of the good rains that we've had over the wet season, and particularly some late season rains that we had sort of May, June, have encouraged the grass to grow exceptionally well. And, when there's grass that's grown really well, it's dried out and now it's ready to burn.
Benjamin Muller says it appears most of these early season bushfires are being deliberately lit.
Across the whole of the Kimberley, there's been probably between 400,000 and 500,000 hectares burnt within the last 2 to 3 weeks alone as a result of fire that's not started by lightning. So take that for what you think it might mean. And fire crews have been busy trying to put those out. Exceptionally disappointing. What we don't need now is people thinking they're still doing a prescribed burn. People need to put the matches away and stop lighting fires, basically.
Acting Senior Sergeant at the Kununurra Police Station, Todd Roberts, told Scotty Day police have so far charged one person for deliberately lighting a bushfire.
Look, I obviously can't confirm that they are being deliberately lit. Like I can confirm that we have been having some bushfires. I can confirm that there has been at least one that's been deliberately lit, which we've dealt with, and someone's been charged for that.
Well, that's good news.
So yeah, it's something that we obviously take very seriously. The potential for a bushfire to get out of hand and come through town is obviously something that we don't take lightly.
DFES says prescribed burnings, which started in April, should have ended by now. Benjamin Muller is urging locals to be prepared for the bushfire season and campers to make sure they put out campfires properly.
What you're seeing now is absolutely not the time to be doing prescribed burning. Prescribed burning ended sometime in June, roughly. So everything now is a fire that should not be in the landscape. So encourage people to put the matches away. If you're going camping, make sure your campfire's in a cleared area and it's properly extinguished with water. At the end of every day, it's no good just throwing dirt over it because it'll sleep there. So campers, put your campfires out with water and put the matches or any other burning devices away.
The Shire of Wyndham East Kimberley has a great Be Bushfire Prepared webpage with all the information you need. Senior Ranger and Emergency Services Coordinator at the Shire, Scott Ramsbotham, summarises the main things we need to know.
Yeah, so the main thing would be ensuring that your fire breaks are installed in line with the Shire's fire break order. So fire breaks allow fire trucks and firefighters to get around your property and protect your property in the need of if there's a bushfire threatening that property. Another way to protect is ensuring that you're applying for permits with the Shire. That way this allows us to assess the risk involved within that if you're wanting to burn. A part of the permit conditions is the permit holder must contact DFES ComSen. That then goes lodged onto emergency WA, which then allows, if someone calls 000 on that fire, they then know that it's not a risk and it's someone burning.
If you see a bushfire, make sure you ring 000 and Crime Stoppers if you see anyone deliberately lighting a bushfire on 1800 333 000. The good news is that the rain season could come earlier this year, here in the East Kimberley at least. That's according to the Bureau's Northern Rainfall Onset Outlook, released last week.
For the northern and eastern Kimberley region, there's maybe a 50 to 60% chance that we could see an earlier start to those northern rains. As we move into the western Kimberley and into the Pilbara, likely to see those rains being slightly delayed and a little bit later than normal. For the northern Kimberley, we typically see the rain starting either late October or very early into November. And for around the Broome area, more likely to see those rains appearing in sort of mid-December.
Thank you, Evan Ransley, for that special bushfire report. It's time for sport. And the EKFL Northern Division Grand Finals took place last weekend, and a very happy Eric Cox Junior brings us all the highlights.
Thanks, Davina. Yes, I'm very happy. My Crows have taken out the 2025 EKFL competition for the first time since 2016, right here at Kununurra Town Oval on Saturday night. Town Oval was a pretty picture and full up for all the grand final action. It started at 2:30 p.m. with the Ord River Magpies surpassing the Port Wyndham Crocs in the women's grand final. It was a very close game, but the Magpies held on to win. 3 goals to 5 points, 23, to the Crocs, 2 goals to 8 points, 20.
They win by 3 points! What a game! Ord River Magpies have stolen the grand final.
The medal for the best on grand went to Sarah Sanku from the Ord River Magpies, while the Ingrid Harvey medal was awarded to Joe Franz Hunter from the Wyndham Crocs. The men's grand final followed at 5 p.m. and it was a different story for the Magpies. They were going for their 3rd straight grand final win against my Waringarri Crows. We were determined not to let that happen. We remembered the feeling of the last 2 years and stormed to lead in the first quarter. The Magpies came back and made a big game of it, but our hunger on the day was enough to bring the Crows home. My father, Eric Cox Junior, had a bag of 9 goals. What a legend. That's his 7th career EKFL title, and he's still deciding if he's gonna hang up his big boots. Our Waringarri Crows winners, 16 goals to 2.98 to the Magpies, 11 goals, 6.72. The best player on ground in the grand final was the Crows, Melbourne Tatea. What a gun. The best on fairest player of the year award went to Timothy Mosquito from Warman Eagles. And the VAG medal winner, it was Darcy Mindler from the Ord River Magpies. The 2025 men's grand final marked 1,000 umpiring games for the legend Wayne Paul, who also is the president of EKFL. A big congratulations, Wayne Paul. You make it all happen.
2025 premiers.
Congratulations to all teams, staff, volunteers and fans for making this one of the deadliest years of EKFL ever. Now that it's all over, I got to find a different sports to talk about with you every week. But one last time, this year, up the mighty Crows.
Thanks, Eric, and a big congratulations to his Waringarri Crows men's team and to the Ord River Magpies women's team also. Well, that ends East Kimberley Weekly with me, Davina Toby Wright. We hope you've enjoyed it. Please remember to share with your family and friends. If you have a story you think we should follow up, please email us at news@waringarrimedia.org.au. Thanks for joining us. East Kimberley Weekly will take a break next week. We'll be back in a fortnight. So get your story ideas to us and see you then. Wishing you a great weekend.